Hey, Nish here, and today we're going to get started with the Zoom MS50G. This will also apply to the MS70CDR, which has a very similar interface. Starting off with the UI, there is one main foot switch which is used to activate and deactivate effects. That's surrounded by 4 directional buttons. The left and right are used to browse your virtual pedal board and move between pedals, while the up and down can be used to cycle through the different pedals. Then there's 3 dials on the top which are used to go through menus, but also in order to change parameters. So the first thing you want to do setting up is to go into settings. So you press the left dial and then scroll with it to settings and then press it once more. So there's a couple settings that will be relevant here. Firstly, holding the main switch will normally take you to the tuner, but you can also have it take you to the tap tempo function, which is used for certain effects. If you're going to be using batteries, there's also the battery type. So if you're using alkaline, normal, non-rechargeable batteries, or if you're using rechargeable nickel metal hydride, they have a different voltage. So I think it will change something slightly internally in the pedal. The one thing I would really recommend to change here is the autosave, which by default I think is enabled. Autosave means that when you're in a patch and you make changes, it will automatically get saved and written over the patch you're in. The reason why I prefer to have autosave off is if I have a patch and I've messed around with some parameters and then I want to get it back, it would be difficult if I'd already autosaved. But with autosave disabled, you can just go out of the patch, come back in, and it'll be just as you left it initially. So from our settings, we can press the middle dial to exit again, and we get back to the current patch we're in. So pressing the middle button will bring up the list of patches. There's 50 slots on here, 30 of which come pre-populated. What we're going to do is scroll down using that middle dial to go to an empty one. There we go. So let's go into an empty one. Now there is no pedals here, and we can immediately start cycling through the different pedals by pressing the up or down keys. But there is a cool feature. If you hold either of the up or down buttons, you'll come up to the pedal category select. So this will put the pedals into categories. So for example, dynamics and filters, overdrive, amps, SFX, and so on. So let's say if I want an SFX, I can select that using the directional buttons here and then press the main foot switch to enter that category. Now you do still have the other categories available. If I press down, which is to go back, we're actually going to jump back into some amps and drives, but then we'll get back onto the SFX and tremolo, for example. So that category select is just skipping over in the list to where you want to go. So when we're on a pedal, as I said, you press the foot switch to activate or deactivate it, and the red light will come on or off in relation to that. If we want to add another pedal now, we can hold the left or right button to add a new pedal on that side. So the signal goes from right to left as these arrows show with the input of the guitar and the output. So that means that if I add a pedal on the left, the effect will come afterwards. So if I hold the left button, we'll come back to this effect category page, and let's add a booster or something for volume. So now that I've got 2 pedals, I can move between them with left and right and activate and deactivate them respectively. So I can activate them both up here. The parameters menu can be entered by pressing the right dial, or if you just start turning one of the dials, it will automatically bring that up. Now sometimes there's more than one page of parameters, as you see here with the tremolo, there's 2, and if you press the right dial, you will cycle through to the second page. When you're on the last page, you can press that again and it will go back to the effects, or you can press the middle dial in order to exit that. If you want to remove a pedal, you press the left dial, and then you can see that we're already highlighting delete effect unit, pressing the left dial again using the left dial to select yes, and then pressing it once more. Another useful thing to know is how to change the order of effects. So you can press the left dial again, and you can see here we can go to effect chain, and when we enter effect chain, it will give us a view of the different pedals we have. So we use the left dial to move around, and you can see there's this magnet, and what happens is if I press the left dial on top of pedal, the magnet will pick that up, and then you can drag that around and change the order, remembering that the signal goes from right to left. So let's just mess up the order there just for the sake of example. Now each patch can take up to 6 pedals, but you have to be aware, because if you add too many effects that use a lot of processing, which I'm going to try and do right now, then you can run into a processing limit. So this is what happens when you have a processing limit, and I've stacked a load of amps together, which makes absolutely no sense, but these tend to be some of the most heavy effects, so you typically aren't going to use more than one of them. But what happens is, we've reached the processing power limit, I think, with only 5 pedals, but if we go through and change pedals, for example, it's fine if I change that pedal to something else. Now that we've got our lovely abomination of random effects, let's save it, right? Because we disabled autosave, so if we unplug, then we're going to lose all of this. In order to save, we first press the middle dial, and then that takes us to the patch list. Now, whatever we're highlighting here is what we're going to save. If we press the left dial here, we'll go into the saving screen, and we see here that this is the destination that we're going to save it to, and we can use the middle dial to change that destination. So by default, it's going to be the same slot as you were before, so it's simply doing an overwrite, but you can also overwrite other patches if you want to overwrite them. We can change the name, so using the left dial will move the cursor around, as you can see, and moving the right dial will change the letters. You can also skip through banks of characters like uppercase, lowercase, numbers, punctuation, just to make it a little bit quicker. It can be a little bit tedious, but it is worthwhile. Let's just change the E to an F. And to do the final saving, we press the left dial. Unfortunately, there's no pop-up that says success, you're all good to go. It's just, well, you can see it in the list here because I've changed the name. And we can see if I go to, let's say 43, which has some other random stuff on it, and then again, I press the middle dial to go to the menu, turn back down to F empty, which is the one we made here. We press the middle dial to enter, and then we can see we have our abomination of random effects. So once again, that sequence to save is middle to enter the patch list, left to enter the saving screen, left again to save, and then if you want to go back into it, it's middle. So, once you get a little bit quicker at using this pedal, you'll be like middle, left, left, middle, and then it's very quick once you get the hang of it. Now, one effect I wanted to talk about is called the line selector. This is incredibly useful because it lets you activate more than one pedal at the same time. So you can find the line selector in the dynamics and filters section, I believe, somewhere. Yeah, there it is. And essentially it either lets the signal through to the pedals that come after it on the left, or it bypasses them completely and goes immediately to the exit, skipping them. So the pedals you put after it, in this case I've got an overdrive and a delay, you leave them activated. And that means that when the line selector is skipping them, they're not going to be used. But then when you activate the line selector and let it go to the next effects, then those will all turn on at the same time. So this does take up one of your 6 slots that you have in your patch. So it limits you to only having 5 different effects, but it is incredibly useful. And I use this all the time with an overdrive and a delay because it makes it like a solo button. Just to illustrate further, I can show you the effect chain of this patch, which is the one I use the most. I've got a compressor, which is always on at the front of my signal chain on the right. Then there is a chorus and an octave, which are by default deactivated, and I can manually go to them and activate them if I want. Then we have the line selector, and that's followed by the overdrive and the delay. So this is a setup I use all the time. So that is everything that I wanted to show you about this pedal. I hope this helps you get started with using this thing. It is quite intuitive. I definitely find the controls very intuitive and nice and tactile, especially these dials are just fantastic. Hope you have a lot of fun using this pedal. If you have any more doubts or questions, or if you've made a cool patch and you want to share it, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, subscribe for more to the point content. I'll be making a short video about plugging this into a computer perhaps and updating the firmware and getting new effects onto there. So let me know if you're interested in that. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one.